At my birthday dinner, my 12-year-old niece laughed. Aunt Ava says you're just a wallet with a pulse. While she unwrapped the $900 gift I bought her, everyone laughed, except me. That night, I froze every account, vanished, and left a sealed envelope behind that I turned 37 last month. Not a milestone birthday, not the kind that warrants a huge party, but Ava, my wife of 9 years, insisted we do something nice. By something nice, she meant booking a reservation at an overpriced fusion place downtown and inviting her entire family, her parents, her sister's husband, and their 2 kids. It was predictable. Ava's family is the kind that treats every gathering like a roast, except it's never lighthearted ribbing. It's more like thinly veiled contempt wrapped in jokes. They laugh the loudest at the cruelest lines. I used to think it was cultural or just their family humor, but after nearly a decade, I realized it was a hierarchy. Someone always had to be the butt of the joke, and more often than not, it was me. Ava would roll her eyes and say, "Don't be sensitive. They don't mean it." But over time, the barbs got sharper. I provided, I paid, I organized, I fixed things, and in return, I was boring, serious, the guy who doesn't get jokes. The irony? I was fine being the boring guy. I liked my spreadsheets, my quiet evenings, my stable job. I thought stability was what built a family. Apparently, to them, stability was just a punchline. The birthday dinner followed the usual script. Her dad ordered half the menu like it was his own kitchen. Her mom critiqued the decor. Ava drank 2 cocktails before the appetizers even hit the table. When it came time for gifts, everyone looked expectantly at me. Because, of course, I had to go last. I'd bought my niece, Ava's sister's 12-year-old daughter, a brand new iPad. $900 with the case and stylus. A ridiculous gift, honestly, but Ava had begged me. She'll adore you for it. You know how much she wants one. So I watched her little hands tear through the wrapping paper, eyes lighting up as she saw the sleek Apple box. The whole table clapped like we were at a wedding. And then she said it. With the same sweet smile, the same sing-song voice she used when asking for dessert, my niece giggled. Aunt Ava says you're just a wallet with a pulse. The table froze for half a second, long enough for me to feel my ears burn. Then laughter. Loud, unrestrained, mean laughter. Her dad slapped the table. Her mom covered her mouth, shaking. Even her sister leaned back, wiping tears from her eyes. And Ava, my wife, she laughed the hardest. She tilted her glass toward me, smirking like it was the cleverest joke ever told. I didn't say a word. I just smiled. A small, measured smile. The kind I wear at work when a client tries to bait me into giving more than the contract allows. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and under the table, began tapping. First, I logged into the joint account Ava used for her girls' nights. Frozen. Then the credit card her parents regularly borrowed for emergencies. Frozen. Then the savings account her sister once guilted us into dipping into for temporary childcare costs. Frozen. One by one, like pulling plugs from a life support machine, I shut down every artery of money they'd ever touched, all while smiling, nodding, pretending to appreciate the joke. No one noticed. Not yet. When dessert came, I excused myself. Too full, I said. Ava kissed my cheek, slurring slightly, telling me she loved me. I just squeezed her shoulder and whispered, "I know." That night, while she snored in a drunken haze, I packed a single bag. Passport, laptop, a week's worth of clothes. On the dining table, I left a sealed envelope. Inside, printed statements of every account, bold red letters showing frozen or closed, along with a short letter. You call me a wallet with a pulse. The wallet is closed. The pulse is gone. Don't look for me. At 3:15 a.m., I locked the door behind me for the last time and vanished that I checked into a quiet business hotel 30 miles outside the city. Paid in cash. Asked for a top-floor room. No housekeeping. The kind of request that makes front desk clerks assume you're either paranoid or heartbroken. Both were true. The first night was blissfully quiet. No drunken snoring. No constant buzzing of her family group chat. No passive-aggressive sighs. Just me, my laptop, and a crisp bedspread. The second night, the calls began. First, it was Ava. 10 missed calls in under an hour. I didn't answer. Then came the texts. What the hell did you do? Why can't I use the card? This isn't funny. Fix it now. By the time I woke up the next morning, her sister had joined in. Screenshots of declined transactions at a gas station. Voice notes of her swearing at me. Even her dad tried. His message just said, "Call me back. We need to talk like men." I didn't reply to a single one. Instead, I called my bank and confirmed. All accounts linked to Ava or her family were locked. The joint credit card? Disabled. Automatic transfers to her sister's emergency fund. Cancelled. The mortgage? Redirected to my solo account. For the first time in years, my financial dashboard looked clean. No unexplained withdrawals. No suspicious Venmo charges labeled reimbursement. Just me, my income, my balance. It felt like taking a deep breath after years of secondhand smoke. By day 3, Ava switched strategies. The angry texts became syrupy. "Baby, I was drunk, you know that. She's just a kid. She didn't mean it. We can laugh about this later, okay? Just come home." But every time I closed my eyes, I heard my niece's voice. "Aunt Ava says you're just a wallet with a pulse." Children repeat what they hear. If she'd said it so casually, it wasn't a one-off joke. It was a line Ava had used more than once. Probably around her family. Probably with that same smug grin she wore at dinner. And I realized I'd been the punchline for 9 years. On the 4th night, I called my lawyer. Not a friend of a friend, not someone from Ava's circle. My own. I explained everything. The accounts, the laughter, the envelope I'd left. She listened without interrupting. Then she said, "You've documented everything. Good. We can file for divorce on grounds of emotional cruelty and financial exploitation. They won't see a dime more than they're owed." I almost cried. Not because of the divorce. I'd already mourned the marriage, but because someone finally named what I'd been living through. Exploitation. By the weekend, Ava's parents tried guilt. Her mom left me a voicemail, voice trembling. "She's your wife. Families fight. You can't just disappear over a joke." But it wasn't a joke. It was the truth, spoken by a child who didn't know it would sting. The hotel room began to feel like home. I bought a cheap set of clothes from a local store, used the gym downstairs, started taking walks after dinner. Nobody knew me here. Nobody laughed at me here. For the first time in almost a decade, I felt invisible and free. Back at Ava's house. No, her house now. The texts escalated. Screenshots of overdraft notices. Screenshots of rejected payments. Photos of her crying in bed, mascara streaked. I didn't reply, because for 9 years, every dinner, every holiday, every birthday, I was the invisible one. The provider, the wallet, the pulse. Now they got to experience invisibility, and it terrified them. Update 1. I knew it was coming. Ava's family never kept anything private. Every minor argument, every inconvenience was broadcast on Facebook. So it wasn't a shock when my phone buzzed with screenshots from a coworker. Ava's Facebook post. "Please pray for my family. After years of sacrifice and love, my husband has abandoned us, frozen our accounts, and left without a word. I don't know how we'll survive this cruelty. No woman deserves to be treated like this." The picture attached was a close-up of her face, red-eyed, wrapped in a blanket. A box of tissues staged in the corner. The comments poured in. "Men are trash. Sue him. You deserve better. Queen. What kind of monster leaves his wife broke?" And right there, sandwiched between sympathy emojis, was my niece's comment. "He just got mad at my joke. LOL." Half the commenters ignored it. The other half asked, "What joke?" Her sister jumped in with her own post. "Imagine finding out your brother-in-law froze your joint accounts on a whim. We're family. He's supposed to be there for us. But instead he humiliated my niece at dinner and stormed out." Who does that to a child? I stared at that word. Child. No mention of what the child had actually said. No mention of the laughter that followed. Just the image of me as a cruel, unhinged man, lashing out at innocence. It was almost impressive how fast they rewrote the script. I didn't respond. Instead, I screenshotted everything. Saved copies to a secure drive. Printed hard versions for my lawyer. Because here's the thing. I didn't need to fight them in the comment section. I wasn't interested in convincing Ava's cousins or her mom's church friends. I was interested in judges. In banks. In the IRS. By day 2 of the smear campaign, the narrative cracked. A co-worker of Ava's, someone who had been at the birthday dinner, commented under her post. "You're not telling the whole story. We all heard what your niece said. He didn't abandon you. He walked out after you humiliated him." The thread went nuclear. Ava deleted the post within the hour. But the damage was done. She'd gone public. She'd made it a war zone. And now every attempt at reconciliation sounded hollow. Her text switched again. We can fix this, please. Just come home. I'll make them apologize. Don't ruin us over one mistake. But I wasn't the one who ruined us. They did that when they laughed. That night, I opened the sealed envelope I'd left behind. I'd written it in one sitting, the night of my birthday. It wasn't poetic, just factual. All financial ties severed. All joint accounts closed. Divorce papers incoming. Do not contact my employer, my lawyer, or my family. At the bottom, one sentence in bold letters. I was never your wallet. I was your husband. You killed that difference. Ava still didn't know the full extent of my preparation. The hidden savings account. The notarized documents. The quiet consultations I'd had with financial advisors months earlier, when I first suspected her family was bleeding me dry. To her, it looked like a sudden betrayal. To me, it was an exit I'd been building brick by brick. And now the door was wide open. Final update. The divorce hearing was quieter than I imagined. No dramatic cross-examinations. No screaming matches. Just paperwork, signatures, and a tired judge who'd clearly seen too many marriages rot from the inside. Ava showed up with her lawyer, face drawn, makeup caked thick to hide exhaustion. She didn't look at me once. Her attorney tried to paint me as abandoning her without notice, but the judge wasn't buying it. Because I had evidence. Screenshots of Ava's posts. Copies of her sister's Family First rants. My niece's exact words, logged from multiple witnesses. Bank records showing years of emergency, transfers, and unapproved withdrawals. My lawyer laid it out in calm, surgical strokes. Not an attack, just a map of how a man can slowly be drained until he finally says enough. When it was over, the judge granted the divorce, dissolved joint accounts, and denied spousal support. The phrase that stuck with me, Mrs. Redacted, you appear more reliant on your husband's income than on the marriage itself. A polite way of saying exactly what my niece had blurted at dinner. After court, Ava tried to approach me in the hallway. Please, she whispered. Her voice cracked. It was just a stupid joke. I never meant. I looked at her. For the first time in years, I didn't feel anger. Or even pity. Just absence. Like watching a movie in which you've long stopped caring about the characters. I know, I said. But you taught her the line. And you laughed. That was it. That was goodbye. Her family didn't take it well. They flooded social media with theories. I was having an affair. I'd had a midlife crisis. I was manipulated by a toxic lawyer. I didn't respond. Not once. Silence became my weapon. Silence and proof. When her dad tried to call my employer, implying I was unstable, HR already had a packet from me explaining the situation. Documented, time-stamped, airtight. The call stopped. The post slowed. Eventually, the family turned inward, blaming each other. The kingdom crumbled. The first few months after were strange. I'd lived so long under constant noise, requests, demands, guilt trips, that the quiet felt alien. I woke up expecting texts asking for money. I ate dinners expecting backhanded comments. But silence isn't empty. It's space. And in that space, I rediscovered things I hadn't touched in years. Books, long walks, cooking meals for one without hearing. That's too expensive. Even laughter, real laughter, not the cruel kind. And yet, freedom came with grief. Because the truth is, I hadn't just lost Ava. I'd lost the version of myself who believed in her. The man who thought his sacrifices were building a future together. That man died at a birthday dinner, while a child unwrapped a $900 gift and called him nothing more than a wallet with a pulse. I mourned him quietly, like a soldier saluting a fallen comrade. Months later, I ran into my niece by accident at a bookstore. She froze when she saw me, guilt all over her face. Before she could speak, I said, "You didn't know what you were saying. Don't carry that weight." She cried. I walked away. Some things aren't meant to be repaired. Now, a year later, I live alone in a small apartment downtown. Not flashy, not expensive, but mine. Every item in it was chosen by me, paid for by me, touched only by me. And every morning, I look at the envelope I'd left behind, the original copy I'd kept for myself. I was never your wallet. I was your husband. You killed that difference. Sometimes, I think about sending her a photo of it. Most times, I don't. Because the real victory wasn't freezing accounts, or winning court, or walking away richer. It was learning that silence speaks louder than any comeback, and absence cuts deeper than any insult. They laughed at me for years. But when I vanished, the laughter died. And in that silence, I finally heard myself again.